Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe for multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Market Today on Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and with me Shel Bhatnagar. This is a show where we'll help you understand what are the closing trades we're looking at. Remember, after carnage yesterday on the D Street, is the second day in a row when the markets are still down in trade. You talk about the Nifty, that's down about 0.6% at 21,436. All the sectors of the Nifty, barring a few gainers that are coming in now on oil and gas, healthcare and realty and PSU banks, rest of the sectors are still feeling the heat in the markets. It's the consumer durables, the Nifty bank, that's the indices that are facing maximum pressure, 1.5% downtick coming in on this one. But for sure, the pull-up in healthcare stocks is giving us a ray of hope. We're looking at Sun Pharmaceuticals, the last stock that I had checked before we closed our morning trading session. It's now as the top gainer, 2.8% higher in trade. Tech Mahindra, Cipla, Apollo Hospitals, M&M. These are the other gainers at this point in time. But of course, the culprit that we have been talking about, HDFC Bank, the shares which really caused this carnage, 3.5% down on that one, 1484. Shell, what else do you see in the markets?
A very warm good afternoon to you, Sakshi. And I'm just looking at earnings reaction. You've summed up the market pretty well. Just look at the top gainer on the F&O and the top loser. The top gainer is Oracle Financial Services and the top loser is L&T Mindtree. And both of them are from the same sector and both of them are reacting differently to what the earnings have been. So one must try and understand from this point of view that market is appreciating movement and better movement as far as third quarter results are concerned. Of course, Oracle came up with a stunning set of numbers and it's been rewarded very well. Apart from that, select PSUs are also doing fairly okay. And in them, let's look at the energy space. Oil India now 6% higher, 405. This is a fresh record high. The public sector banking space, remember Sakshi, we caught it up very, very early today. Maharashtra Bank, 3% higher, 5135. And this is against the backdrop of quite a lot of pain happening in the private sector space. Apart from Maharashtra Bank, you have Punjab and Sindh Bank doing 1% higher, 45. You have a strong move coming in Indian Overseas Bank, 43.95, 1% higher. PNB, Bank of Baroda, all these counters are showing fairly okay traction. But the pain point remains HDFC Bank, and that has sort of, created a problem for the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. If you look at the transactions on HDFC Bank, 9,300 crores traded, Sakshi, compared with 13,300 crores raised today. So no let up. And there was some hope that you will see some recovery, but again at the day's low, it started at 1480, went up till 1507, 1508. But as the market draws to a close, you see profit booking happening, and that's what is there in front of the scene. It's also pulled down ICICI Bank. I think the only sensible stock doing well today is Axis Bank, 1091, about 0.9% higher. A bit of a disappointment day as far as the Nifty and the Bank Nifty and HDFC Bank are concerned. But broader markets, I don't see any pain at all, Sakshi.
Broader markets, no pain at all at this point in time. We are actually seeing a whole host of stocks really buzz in the broader markets, especially in the Nifty 500 space. Apollo Tyres, a stock that we discussed in the morning show as well, and that stock is actually pulled up very, very smartly, 6.3% higher, the top mover as far as the Nifty 500 basket is concerned. It's followed by Castrol, that's up by almost 5.7%. You have Aptus Value Housing Finance, that's up by 5.6% in trade. FDC, that's up by almost 5%. Aarti Industries, again we had touched base, 4.5% higher. CEAT, Bank of Maharashtra, already mentioned by Shell. Oro Pharma, IRB Infrastructure, these are some of the other stocks that are really moving up in trade as of now. Even on the Nifty, the market breadth has somewhat improved from the morning trade. Remember, we had only 3 gainers when we were closing the morning trading session, morning edition of Market Today. After 1.5 hours, it's now a slew of pharma stocks. It is Reliance Industries that's again come up in the green. It's also the IT stocks that are supporting the sentiment at this point in time. So you have TCS that's up in trade as well. You have Reliance Industries, the heavyweight counter, that's up in trade. From the life insurance space, it's again HDFC Life that's again showing some ticks on the higher side. And of course, it's a pharma major, Sun Pharma, Cipla, these kind of stocks, and Dr. Reddy's that are pulling up the index. Even the auto space, Tata Motors is one stock that's up by 1%, which Shell you had also pointed out.
Sakshi, I think one interesting theme that's buzzing very, very strongly is the pharma space. We'll, of course, be getting Avinash Gorakshakar as our main guest for today on the fundamental side. But 2 or 3 points I'd like to mention, especially on Sun Pharma. The defensive money that is moving into the pharma space is obviously coming from the likes of HDFC Bank, and strong traction in pharma if you look at it. Lupin started fairly early, and now we have a strong move coming in. Aurobindo Pharma 3% higher, Sun Pharma 2.6% higher, accompanied by a 2.5% rise in open interest. Cipla, Lupin, all the big boys are moving in. Of course, Apollo Hospitals. This was the first call in the morning that we took on the long side from our friend Mr. Palvia, 1.1% higher. Avinash is with us. Good afternoon to you, Avinash. Happy New Year, and a very warm welcome to this wonderful volatile day. What are your thoughts on HDFC Bank, and how do you see sentiment?
Yeah, good afternoon, Shail, and good afternoon, Sakshi. See, I think markets are volatile, and I think yesterday's move on HDFC Bank was, very surprising. Not many people expected such a kind of a drastic fall. But I think clearly, I think if you look at the stock movement today, clearly I don't presume that, after 2 days of brutal selling, Shell, this movement would continue going forward, considering the fact that, valuations now have come down to pretty good levels. I think the only concern is the deposit growth rate. And I think that is something which, the markets are looking at a little cautiously. If deposit growth rate slows down, then I think the NIMs may come under pressure. So I think we'll wait and watch for some more time.
Okay. Avinash?
Avinash, when you look at the pharma space, where do you see value at this point of time? Record highs, at least on Sun Pharma, and a very welcome number. This is after 6 years that we are seeing a record high.
No, I think companies which are focused on the US markets, Shell, specifically companies like Sun Pharma, or that for that reason, Aurobindo Pharma, Lupin, these are large companies which should benefit quite significantly. After a very long period of time, we have got stable news flow from the US FDA front. Most of the companies are now expecting better margins from the US markets, which are under pressure for some more time. And I think you'll see quite a strong improvement, from companies like Lupin, which reported a very strong Q2 number. And I think the management commentary post that was also quite encouraging. So I think US focused companies are definitely bound to do well. I would add even Torrent Pharma here, but I think Sun Pharma, has made a recent acquisition that is also going to add to its revenue and bottom line. And most importantly, their focus has been on the specialty business, which I think the markets are now discounting in the price. The specialty business has got the potential to give a better traction in terms of profitability. So I think at these levels also, if somebody were to take a 12 to 18 month call, I think looking at the kind of mix, revenue change mix and the profit kind of traction, I think definitely it's a good long-term buy. But yes, I think you need to give a slightly longer time period to get a decent risk reward from here on.
Okay. Avinash, afternoon to you. I wanted to understand on two particular stocks. One is, of course, Oracle Financial Services Software. That's up 26% and a remarkable move after the earnings that has come in. Of course, we were watching this stock and we had been discussing with a few of our guests. Even I remember Devin Choksi first mentioning this stock on our channel and saying that this is a stock for the long haul. And the earnings have come about pretty smartly. But the kind of momentum that we've seen, 27% of an upside, what should one really do? It's not a cheap stock to hold, 64, 69 rupees.
No, I think clearly, Sakshi, this is one of those stocks where for a very long period of time, you have been hearing market reports that Oracle could finally get delisted because the majority of the shareholding is with the collaborator, with the parent. And I think it's into a SaaS product, basically, where there are very few Indian companies which have been successful in developing products in the market. So unlike a services company, the profitability for Oracle is quite significant, and the third quarter numbers which came out were quite strong. So I think the markets gave a thumping response to the performance. More importantly, the liquidity in this stock is very limited. So even a small bout of buying can actually, can push the stock to higher levels, and that's exactly what has happened. So I would suggest, people who are holding on to the stock can hold on. I think somebody who wants to buy the stock can definitely buy in, but I think probably, wait for a meaningful correction at these levels. I would not venture out to buy fresh, considering the fact that it already moved up by about 25% today. So a healthy correction, and then one could look at buying it. But yes, longer term prospects are definitely looking strong. Their exposure to the banking, treasury, and to the insurance sector is very deep, and there is virtually no competition for them. So these are factors which have played out very strongly for the company.
Okay. What about LTI Mindtree, the sharp reaction on the downside that we saw today after the earnings as well, and the management commentary that was slightly on the weaker side as well? Does the stock really look at the kind of reaction that it has got on one quarter earnings and the outlook?
Yeah, I think markets were disappointed that already, there were headwinds in the market saying that growth will not come in. But what was reported by LTI Mindtree was quite discouraging. There was a flattish trend in the top line, both on a sequential basis as well as on a YOY basis. And if you look at the margins, I think the management commentary was quite cautious. Their expectation is that possibly margins could come under further pressure in the coming quarters. And I think, once growth quotient is, completely out, you have got margin pressure. I would not say that this stock is completely cheap. I think markets would obviously try to figure out the fair value after taking out, the kind of revised earnings estimates for FY24 and FY25. And to that extent, I think today's reaction is more or less done. I don't think you could see any further correction or any major downside from tomorrow. But incrementally also upside, the stock will remain, in a very close range unless and until we get to hear some large order wins, some better execution and better margins. So till that time, it's going to remain at best a market performer. And I don't think you're going to see any short-term re-rating in the stock. Maybe from a longer-term point of view, it can bounce back. But yes, from the next couple of quarters, I think it's going to remain in a very narrow range. And I would not be surprised that, the institutional interest also would be little lesser here. I think because markets were not expecting this kind of performance from the company. At least the commentary was quite, was very hawkish and clearly mentioned that margins could come under further pressure.
Okay. Sakshi, let me just mark a couple of stocks and these need to be brought to the attention of our viewers. Let's look at the pharma space again and start with the main index itself. Let's see what the pharma index is doing as far as the percentage rise is concerned, given the fact that many stocks are at 52-week highs and some of them are also trading at record high levels. At the moment, the pharma index is amongst those rare gainers as far as the index group is concerned. It at the moment 17,380. It's improved fairly sharply from day's low, and beyond that, it's the stocks of Lupin, and in terms of 52-week highs, you have a strong traction coming into Lupin, Glaxo, as also there is a strong move coming in, of course, on Sun Pharma, 1341 in front of me, 1434 on Lupin, Cipla also in the green. And when you look at the other stocks within the pharma space, there is Abbott India. Of course, these are very high priced stocks, but what can we do? Bhagwan hai aapko bhav mein dikhta hua, and that is how markets are now channelizing the money that they have booked out of private sector banks into defensive counters such as pharma. Aurobindo Pharma 3.4% higher, all-time high 1125. Even mid caps Sakshi are buzzing. Sanofi 8400, Granules India 422.70, 0.5% higher. This is how the money is circulating. And remember Tata Motors, this is something that we had marked really early in the first initial trades of the day. What really happened is that the stock dipped fairly sharply from then on, but that dip has been purchased, and again a record high on Tata Motors 822.80. Avinashji, your view on Tata Motors, one of the fabulous performers of 2023 and no let up.
No, I think Tata Motors Shell should report a very strong set of numbers on 2nd February. They have declared a board meeting. I think the markets are quite excited to know that now JLR is making free cash flows and the business is doing very well. On the domestic side, the commercial vehicle business, the passenger car business, the electric vehicle passenger car business is also doing well. So I think you could expect further re-rating once the numbers are out, the management commentary is out. But I think we could see a very strong FY25 also. And hopefully commercial vehicles and the electric vehicles and the JLR business could combine into a very strong earnings growth for the coming year also. So I am looking at a target price of at least 870, 875. We were buyers when the stock corrected to around 800 odd levels, and we still continue to, would suggest that the stock should be accumulated at the current level or maybe even on market declines. This is one of the most, stable and safest stocks in the current market, where the risk reward clearly is in favor of investors.
Okay, I couldn't agree more with you. And the fact that today's low Sakshi has been 797, and from then on it's the rally that's building up towards the earnings. 820 for you, and fairly decent volumes coming into. Let me just try and check out what the volume is on Tata Motors. Somewhere like 95 lakh shares traded today, and when you look at the volume as a percentage of the other counters, let's just see what Tata Motors is doing. Tata Motors is about 1 time, so nothing great on volume, but the price action is fairly strong. And Sakshi, let's just mark the Nifty. We are at 245, about 45 minutes of trade left. Now the losses are actually in 2-digit. The point I mentioned is the Nifty had opened 200 points lower. It is now 95 points lower. The low for today, Sakshi, is at 21,000, let's just say 21,300. Let's round it off. And now at the moment, 21,472. So it's a 172 point uptick from the day's low. I think a bit of appreciation on that one is also necessary. We also have results coming in from Tata Communications. You'll just see the stock price whizzing past you. Very strong block deals happening, 1751. Let me just mark the result of Tata Communications. Okay, third quarter profit is at 44.8 crores versus 39.4 crores year on year. The top line hasn't come as yet. I have EBITDA, which is 1134 crores versus 1077 crores. The stock running away, Sakshi.
Absolutely. So that's Tata Communications, and we'll continue to watch out for the earnings as and when more numbers really come out, and we'll help you with that as well. Apart from this, the other space that's clearly buzzing is the PSU banking space again. You can see a slew of stocks. Bank of Maharashtra was picked out by Shell in the morning trading session. It's up by 4.2%. And Central Bank of India, Punjab and Sind Bank, UCO Bank, Indian Overseas, Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, South Indian Bank, they're all moving up in trade as well. How would you really look at these slew of PSU banking names, Avinash? We've seen a stunning rally in the past, but even now, these the price points at which many of these second-rung PSU banks trade at, they're very, very attractive even now. But do you think there is enough and more scope for investors to garner fresh returns, even if they enter at this point in time?
No, I think clearly, Sakshi, the biggest concern for the entire banking sector is basically the cost of deposits. I think, yesterday SDFC Bank was hammered by about 9%. I think clearly it's not a problem only associated with SDFC Bank. The entire banking sector is now facing a problem of deposit growth. And I think the sector could come under pressure, maybe slight pressure, because once deposits become more expensive, your cost to income goes up, your NIMs come under pressure. But I think the overall opportunity for growth for the banks, both for the PSU and the private sector banks, seems to be quite strong, considering private capex is going great. Government is also focusing on infrastructure. So I think markets were a little wary about the profitability part, but in terms of the size of the opportunity, the growth still remains, and we are still positive on large PSU banks like Bank of Baroda, SBI, Canara Bank. In the private sector, we still feel that stable banks like ICICI Bank, Axis, or for that reason, South Indian Bank, which you mentioned, quarter three numbers have been very strong. So I think, we are going to see some moderation in margins, but investors who want to play the longer kind of runway should definitely have some exposure to banking. I think banking is not going to be completely beaten down. It's a high alpha sector, but I think banks which have got large CASA kind of percentages and a well diversified geographical mix of clients should do well. So I think, stick to the large cap banks and the PSU banks. I would not be surprised that after a certain bout of short term volatility, markets would definitely start looking at them, from a long term value perspective.
Okay. Fair enough. So that's the view coming in on PSU banks for you. We've discussed the pharma space and the PSU banking space and the IT space also fairly largely. The auto space, of course, Tata Motors we've discussed. From the auto ancillary basket, are you looking at the tire stocks by any chance, Avinash? We're looking at a very, very smart move on Apollo Tires, 6.3% high in trade. In fact, even Balkrishna Industries and stocks like CEAT, they're all moving up in trade in tandem. How would you look at this fresh momentum?
No, I think see markets are quite happy that most of the tire companies should do well. First of all, volumes from the OEM segment, specifically from almost every category, that is the commercial vehicle, passenger car, two wheelers. I mean, all these segments have shown very strong double-digit volume growth. And secondly, for the last 2 to 3 months, crude prices have softened quite significantly. And crude is a very important raw material for tire companies, both in terms of typically in terms of the other inputs like carbon black, and plus rubber prices have been moderately soft. So I think both these points are going to help these companies going forward. Plus, most of these companies have been talking about big expansion plans. So I think once volume growth kicks in, and plus you have a margin expansion kind of lever in the form of lower raw material costs, I think that is something which is going to help these companies. So I think next 2 3 quarters you could see a sustained margin improvement for most of the tire companies. We continue to be positive on stocks like Apollo and even JK Tires, which is JK Industries, which I think looks pretty attractive from a medium to long term perspective.
Okay, we are almost at 250. Sakshi, I think I'll have to mark this one. I've been avoiding all this time to mark Oracle Financial, but I think it's at circuit, and it's the 30% circuit that's come in. Let me just recheck the number, 29.17 so far. So 30 is the percent, 30% is the FNO circuit when it comes to such stocks, and on very smart volumes, 6580 and 29% higher. The volume that I see on Oracle Financial Services is somewhere like 2500 crore rupees. I would imagine this is one of the highest ever. And would you believe it, the open interest here is 56% higher. I've never seen this kind of a number on any stock. So it's actually, I'm so sorry, 74.8% higher. My sincere apologies. So that's how it is. The other stocks that are moving are Petronet LNG, 239. Actually, the entire gas space is in a decent uptick, apart from Petronet LNG, which is India's biggest natural gas transporter. You have Indraprastha Gas, which is now moving at okay, the price is 437, and this is a stock that has been sort of under par over a long period of time, done in by earnings, done in by government moves. But at the moment, 437 and the highest since 20th October 23. Mahanagar Gas was also one of the stocks that was moving fairly decently. MGL 1301, and I believe this is headed up. Yes, this is the highest since November of 2017 as far as Mahanagar Gas is concerned. Avinash, coming to you, your favorite pick amongst iGas, Indraprastha Gas, Mahanagar Gas, and of course Petronet LNG.
I would put my bet shell on Mahanagar Gas. I think if you remember, sometime back on your show, we had already mentioned, when the stock was about 1050,
Yes.
1100. We said that we are positive on Mahanagar Gas, considering that, a large part of its market is basically, Mumbai and basically outer parts of Mumbai. And I think they have a large presence both in the auto as well as in the non-auto segments. The company has decent expansion plans, plus the throughput in the last couple of quarters has been good. The raw material prices, especially the LNG prices, have softened, so that is help them recover better margins from customers. And I think a growing trend has been seen in the CNG vehicles. So I think that goes a big way for a boost for the company. So I would say that even at these levels, somebody wants to pick and invest in this company. I think even at these levels, the stock looks pretty attractive. I think it trades at a multiple of roughly about 12 or 12 and a half times FY24 numbers. So I think very strong earnings, virtually debt-free balance sheet, a cash kitty of almost 3,500 crores. So I think well managed, and I think this could be a good kind of a risk-reward bet in this kind of volatile market.
Okay.
Okay, that's the bet that's coming in. Sakshi, the other stock that's moving today is LIC, now 906.60. Remember, the day's low was something like 872, if I'm not wrong. So, a lot of momentum plays have come back into action when it comes to both price and volume. Of course, the chill that was there in the early morning trades when Nifty was down 100, 150, 200 points has now dissipated, and they've come out shining as far as price movements are concerned. BHEL 2.5% higher, 212.20. Of course, I've mentioned LIC 2.15% higher. These were super high beta counters that were doing extremely well. Avinash, we are getting you after a while. Your view on LIC, I think the last time you came it was sub 700, and now as Sakshi very confidently says, it is above its IPO price.
I think, Shell, I think it's good news for the retail shareholders because, they're seeing this price after a very long time. After the public issue, it was a disastrous debut. In fact, I remember telling Sakshi that, this stock should be held on. There's no need to hurry and booking a loss. But I think clearly, I think in terms of the liquidity, Shell, I think still there's a long way to go because there's hardly any floating stock in the system. It's just 2% divestment which the government did. So I think, most of the institutional funds or maybe the FIs or maybe, the domestic ultra PMSs which run in the market, I think it's very difficult to quantify the rise, on such a low float. So I think unless liquidity improves, my sense is, of course, we will wait for the Q3 numbers, the management commentary. And if there is some big positive element in that on the overall performance and on the growth outlook, then I think the stock could get further re-rated. But a bigger push could come in if there is adequate liquidity in the stock. With a 2% float Shell, you'll also appreciate that it's not going to be easy to get large marquee investors in this stock, and that is something which I think the market is looking forward to.
Okay, so that's LIC for you.
Yes, your point is very well taken.
Yes,
Sakshi,
sir,
please continue.
Okay,
Please continue.
so that's LIC 1.5% higher at 901. We will continue to watch out for whether it actually goes ahead and crosses the 949 mark as well, which was for the general investors as well. So we'll have to wait to find out how long does it take to cross that mark. The other space that's buzzing is the real estate space. The Nifty Realty is 0.4% higher in trade, and the stock that's catching my eye here is Shobha Limited. That's up 13% in trade today, Avinash, and I think there is news flow as well on this one. Yes, it's 13.7% higher, 1508, and I think this is a record level also for the stock. I think the company is going to be meeting anytime next week to consider fundraise also, or maybe a rights issue as well. How would you look at Shobha at this point in time?
No, I think, see, Soba rightly operates largely in the Bangalore market and has been largely present in the corporate segment. And it's been, recognized as one of the quality real estate builders. So I think, obviously the fundraising part is interesting, because that means that possibly the company is looking at other geographical areas to grow. And if that is announced, then I think that could be a further lever for growth. But I think, Sakshi, the entire real estate bag, if you ask me, from North India, companies like DLF, Anantraj, or for that reason, from the Mumbai market, companies like Oberoi Realty, I would not be surprised that the quarter three is going to be an extremely strong quarter. Festive, quarter season. I mean, this festive quarter was very strong. And I think, inventories are selling like hotcakes. So I think we are not seeing any slowdown at all on the pricing front. And demand continues to be quite robust. So I think my guess is real estate is one of those sectors which has come out of a slump after almost 10 years. And I think now going forward, the next 2 to 3 years look very interesting for companies which are less leveraged and where, demand continues to be strong.
All right, that's a view coming in on the real estate space. Yes, Shell.
Sakshi, I just wanted to pull Avinash's leg as far as real estate products are concerned in Delhi and Bombay. What you buy as a bathroom somewhere in Malabar Hill, you'll get a full, genuine 3-bedroom
Penthouse.
flat, separate dining, separate drawing, plus attached bathrooms in Delhi. So, sort of, I just wanted to make that clarification that Mumbai is an island and its real estate market is completely how should I say, different in terms of all parameters in which you would rank a normal company. Look at Lodha, look at Oberoi Realty, look at Godrej Properties. They're doing fantastically well because they are in a market called Mumbai. Sakshi, yours.
All right. On that note, let's take a short break right here. When we return, we will continue to discuss more such interesting stocks and ideas with Avinash Korakshakar. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us, viewers.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
In today's rapidly evolving business environment, when risk is omnipresent, managing risks is no longer just about ticking a few boxes. Businesses need to maintain a panoramic view of risks to stay ahead of the curve. Join us to explore how organizations can rethink risk to unlock new possibilities and become fit for future. At PwC presents De-Risking the Future in collaboration with Business Today.
It's 3 p.m. now, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the last half an hour of trade as far as 18th is concerned. Remember, today is also the weekly expiry of the Nifty, and we will now be moving into the last week of what has been a very, very volatile January for stocks. Till 15th of Jan, when we had 11 trading sessions, you had 9 of them in the green, and a very, very strong run up to 22,124, a record high on the Nifty. And then HDFC Bank's earning came, and that pretty much destroyed what was a very strong bullish up curve both on the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. From then on, the Nifty has corrected somewhere in the vicinity of 700 points, and the Bank Nifty, which was just 500 points below its all-time high, is now down somewhere in the vicinity of 2500 points from that point onwards. Beyond that, the overall sentiment on Dalal Street is fairly okay. You don't see any major pain points. Of course, the Nifty is down 100 points today, 0.5% lower. Again, the problem is HDFC Bank. Let me just put this record straight. Let's look at the pullers and draggers on the Nifty. And out of the 122-point fall, ladies and gentlemen, 57 points are coming because of HDFC Bank and 11 points because of NTPC. Similarly, Sakshi, look at how the trend has changed internally. HDFC Bank is down, but two banks, Axis and ICICI Bank, which have to declare their earnings, are now strongly in the green. Axis Bank is 1.5% higher, 1098. ICICI Bank is up 0.3% higher, 984. So one must understand that the market is now distinguishing, even within the private banking space, HDFC Bank on one side and the remainder on the other. And of course, I don't have to tell you how strong the momentum on the long side is into the PSU banking basket. They are partying. There's no change there, Sakshi.
Let's look at a few more stocks then and take Avinash's view as well over there. In fact, Avinash, let me first ask you on the broader markets, the mid and the small caps. Do you still see that there are few stocks that can still be bought for value in the mid and the small cap space despite the kind of run up that we've already seen in this space?
Yeah, I think, see, my guess is that small cap and mid cap, obviously, they have risen very fast. But I think if you look at the earnings growth trajectory for some of the companies, I would not be surprised that, the markets are betting on this category very aggressively. In fact, most of the SIP flows, which come every month, I mean, a large part of the money is going in small and mid cap funds. So I think a lot of funds is coming in, and I think you'll find a lot of liquidity support, obviously supporting, stocks within this category. But I think you need to be a little careful on valuations. I would also tend to agree that now valuations have become fairly expensive, and I think now you need to be very selective. I think everything and anything will not go up. I think markets have realized that at some point of time, valuations also become important for small and mid caps. And I think the exuberance and the euphoria which we have seen is probably going to make little investors little wary about entering at these levels. So I would not be a buyer. Although there are some stocks like Jamna Auto, Sundaram Fasteners, typically, RK Forgings, these are interesting bets which I think should do well because numbers on the whole look to be quite strong. And I think the management commentary also is likely to be interesting. In fact, RK Forge has just reported numbers. The numbers are pretty solid. But I think, at what level I think the valuation comfort will come is a key question mark. So it's better to hold for some time. Typically, after the results, you get a chance where some profit booking comes in, and you probably get a chance to pick and choose your category of small cap stocks at lower levels.
Okay, so again, some of the auto-related stocks, auto-ancillary stocks right there from the mid-cap basket as per Avinash over here, Sundaram Fasteners, RK Forging and Jamna Auto as per his preferred list of stocks. Shell, anything else that you've spotted?
Sakshi, I think Jindal Stainless is what we need to look at. The stock is down 2.75%, and that's primarily on its earnings, which just came now. Consolidated net profit for the third quarter has slipped to 690 crores from 774 crores. And if you look at the revenue is also down 9,127 crores for the past quarter compared with 9,700 crores in the year ago quarter. And there is a slip on the top line and the front line, the top line and profit after tax, of course. Margin has improved, that's very good. And the EBITDA, the operating profit is 1,246 crores versus 1,231 crores. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have Polycab. Now this is the most awaited one. Okay, third quarter net profit is 413 crores versus 360 crores. Now, this is a good number. Let's see what Polycab is doing at the moment. Last time I checked, the price was above 4,500 rupees. Third quarter revenue 4,300 crores versus 3,720 crores. Nothing opening on the screen as far as Polycab is concerned. Let me just, okay, 4486 up 47 rupees. Remember, this was last week's HDFC Bank, and now the earnings are fairly okay. Let's see how this behaves over the next 1 or 2 minutes. But for the moment, a strong show by Polycab, and the stock has also improved from 3,900 to what is now 4,478. Let's take Avinash's view on Polycab. Avinash, bad times last week, and some kind of sanity now prevailing.
Yeah, exactly. I think Shell, looking at the numbers, I think numbers are definitely better than expectations. And I think now the key question would be that in the management call, what would be the management commentary in terms of the kind of issues which were raised earlier. So I think market would like to have a little more clarity, despite the fact that the management has put out all its statements on the exchange. In the conference call, I think the market would definitely like to know that what's the kind of status as of now on the tax rates, on the corporate governance issues. I think if there is some more clarity on that, I think the markets would definitely give it a thumbs up, because numbers are better than expectations. And I think fortunately the Q3 number is good. I think raw material costs are under control. And with this kind of performance, I think when you get a good management kind of conviction and a good commentary, that would definitely further re-rate the stock. The stock has corrected significantly, Shell, as you know, and I think that would be the good trigger point if one were to looking at adding even at the current odd level. So I think after a bad, kind of performance, I think hopefully the stock should recover slowly.
Okay, and we have one more data point coming in from Polycab. The Q3 EBITDA margin is at 13.1% versus 13.6%, which is okay. And as Avinash rightly said, there will be some very tough questions being asked of the Polycab management in the con call they will do post earnings. As usual, there is little or no clarity where the IT raid happened, and what the company has informed the income tax department. The income tax department, of course, hasn't named the company on which a raid was happened some 10 days ago. Okay, now what else is moving, Sakshi? Days high Cipla, 1327 for you. Fairly decent volumes coming in. Days high on MRPL. This is a stock that we seldom discuss, but 178.05, 4% higher. And it's, entire sister set, Chennai Petro, MRPL, all of them now gaining ground. And what else is moving in terms of price action? Chennai Petro 877, 2.5% higher, 102 crores worth of transactions happening. MRPL 4% higher, again 100 crores worth of transactions happening. And Avinash's favorite, TI Tubes, Tube Investments of India, 3852, 1% higher, but a very decent volume, 104 crores. Okay, one block deal that's happening in Polycab, ladies and gentlemen, 4495, and the value today is 1400 crores total trade versus a 5-day average of 1500. So nothing much enthusiastic about what Polycab is doing. But like I said, this will be a shot in the arm for the management, which has been on the back foot for the last 10 odd days. Sakshi.
Absolutely. One stock that I was looking at, again, I briefly mentioned also, South Indian Bank, very small ticket stock, and this is from the private sector lending space. It's reported a very stunning set of numbers, and that's why the stock is reacting very positively. About net profit surging almost 200% to 305 crores, and asset quality is healthy at just about 31 odd rupees, 8.5% higher in trade. Avinash, would you look at this stock at all and tell us, does this hold merit for investors?
Yeah, I think earlier, as I mentioned to you, Sakshi, I think this is one interesting bet because the numbers which have come in extremely strong, and I think this dispels the thought that banking stocks are going to underperform. Like yesterday, across the market, there were rumors that the banking sector could get significantly derated because of the deposit
Yeah.
uh, growth slowdown. So I think my sense is that deposit growth is definitely going to be a challenge, but for smaller banks where the base is small, I think it's going to be quite strong going forward. I would also be positive on some of the small finance banks like EU Small Finance, Ujjivan Small Finance, Equitas, because here the kind of growth momentum which we are seeing in disbursals and obviously on the asset quality side, I think definitely they look to be in a pretty good shape. So South Indian Bank, if somebody wants to buy at around 30 odd rupees, I don't think there's anything to worry. The stock can possibly give you on a small base at least a 15 to 20% upside because the value of 30 is very small. So I think this bank has now started delivering very strong numbers. So hopefully FY25 should also be equally good.
Okay, fair enough. The other stock that is in fact reacting sharply on the downside is India Mart on its earnings as well. I think the stock is now down about 7 odd percent as well in trade, and I think the earnings over here have been disappointing. Let me just call out the earnings for you. Meanwhile, India Mart, how do you really look at the stock today? It's down by about 3.9%. I think there's been an uptick from the lowest point of the day. How would you really look at India Mart, Avinash?
Yeah, my guess is, most of the high price stocks, Sakshi, when they don't deliver on the numbers and there is a major earnings disappointment, I think the volatility and the fall in the stock price is quite significant, because market pays for growth. And I think if growth does not come in, then I think, the disappointment leads to a severe sell off. So the same thing is happening in India Mart. It's got a strong proprietorship kind of model, a very strong competitive moat, but numbers have not come in as per what the market expected, and I think to that extent it could remain an underperformer for some more time.
And underperformer for some more time. That's the word coming in on India Mart. The stock is down by 3.9% right now, as of now. And let me just tell all our viewers the kind of move that we have seen on this one is, in fact, in the recent past, we were looking at this stock for the positive moves, but the kind of earnings have disappointment has come in. It clearly shows that some more pain is here to stay. Shell.
Yes, Sakshi. So 3:14 and 16 minutes left for trade. Now let's just start looking at how it has panned out for index heavyweights. The index, as you know, is now down about 100 points, 21,450 for you as far as the Nifty is concerned. It's recovered fairly sharply from day's low, so that's a relief. But there is no let up on Sakshi HDFC Bank. 3.4% down at 1485 odd. It's still near its opening low as far as prices are concerned, and even today's 3.5% fall. Sakshi, I think the only sanity that I see in this fall is that, remember, we had this morning discussion that it will not mimic the 9% drop on the ADR, because that was the premium. That was the premium getting nullified on the ADR. So that's a big plus. And now let's hope that the ADR in the US does not mimic this fall, and it's already about 17% over the last two sessions, and it will sort of take a breather, and then we'll have some sanity on HDFC Bank from tomorrow. What's doing well? Tata Motors, one of the biggest pluses for today, and three private sector banks, two private sector banks, Axis in the green, 1.3% higher, 1097. ICICI Bank, 0.43% higher, 986. And State Bank of India, 0.3% higher, 628. Across the board, there has been a wide appreciation of the fact that the resilience of the Indian bull market is at display. Dozens of stocks which had opened sharply lower have dramatically come up very sharply. Oil India, I'll give you an example. At the moment now 395, it was just 404 rupees 10-12 minutes ago. The low for Oil India today was Sakshi 375, and it's now 14 rupees higher. Maharashtra Bank 5180 for you, 4% higher, and it's recovered very sharply from the low of 4790. Similarly, Engineers India 223.60, 2.5% higher, and the low for the day was 205. So you can well see, and you know, this example, Sakshi, is across sectors, it is across market capitalization, and it is across indices. So all I'm trying to say is that the problem is the understanding on HDFC Bank and not the broader markets. That's how at least I look at the market as of now. The Bank Nifty 45,685 for you, down 380, and its low was somewhere like 45,450 in the initial trades. It had actually gone up to 46,200, but then again selling pressure coming very heavy on this one. Sakshi.
Right. One more stock that's coming in focus is Indoco Remedies. We were discussing the pharma space. There's news report coming in that the company has received an EIR from US FDA for manufacturing facility at the Goa plant as well. So you can actually see the stock pulled up because of that news, and it's again seen some profits being taken off, and it's dipped again 377. How would you look at Indoco Remedies, Avinash, and is this a stock that you track?
No, I think we don't track the stock, but I think clearly, pharma companies are getting increasing focus because of new product molecules and some, some new market geographies which the company is entering. I would believe that, I would prefer to wait for at least the December and the March quarter before we make a call. I think we are more positive on the US market, catered companies like Sun Pharma, Lupin, Torrent Pharma, and Aurobindo Pharma. I think smaller companies like Indoco Remedies, I think it's better to wait for some more time, because clearly, I believe the larger companies with a larger export kind of presence are expected to do much better than the smaller pharma companies. But I think it definitely deserves a second look. We prefer, to have little more data clarity once the Q3 numbers are out.
Okay. One stock
Yes,
that I want to...
Indico.
Yes, sir. In fact,
Sakshi, continue. I think you want to mark Tata Communications.
yes, but you know, Indoco is one stock that's actually not moved in the last 6
Yes.
months at all. So we have to continue to watch out for that one too. Tata Communications, of course, is the stock 4.5% higher. It's ticking higher after the earnings that have come about, and you can clearly see momentum building up, especially in the F&O space as well. Right now, it's trading at 1779 currently. It's at the day's high level for sure. That's the stock that's coming up in trades. Avinash, how would you look at Tata Communications after the earnings have come about? Is this a stock that you would want investors to keep a watch on?
Yeah, definitely. See, I think it operates in a very niche space, and I think numbers which have come out have to be understood little more clearly, because the adjusted bottom line is little less compared to the previous third quarter of last year. But I think clearly the data business has done remarkably well. My sense is that once we get some little more clarity from the management post the call, and obviously some outlook, on the business going forward. Definitely, I think at these levels, it could be a good kind of accumulation kind of stock. In the fact that there are not many companies like Tata Communications in the market, it has a fair degree of monopolistic, kind of approach in its business. And most importantly, the earnings are quite steady, the cash flows are quite good. The company has also deleveraged its position quite well, and I think one or two new businesses which were started by the company have now started around. So I think all said and done, we'll wait for some more clarity, Sakshi. But yes, it definitely would make sense if somebody were to take a longer term view on the stock. Any correction or even at the current levels can be used to add positions in the portfolio from a long term perspective.
Okay, Tata Communications is erstwhile Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited. This was privatized by the then government of India in 2002 of February. The Tatas purchased it. It's an irreplaceable asset at even now. It has what is called a submarine cable link with the rest of the world. and a lot of sovereign treaties have been signed between what was then India's crown jewel and the counterparts in other countries to lay undersea submarine cables. And the Tatas have done a fantastic job in increasing that business. At the moment, 1775, 4.5% high. I'm sure this is also very close to a record high. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have 8 minutes left. I'll mark some unusual stocks which are now showing very, very strong traction on the long side when it comes to prices. Welspun Corp 599 for you, 5.2% higher. This is a fresh record. This is a fresh 52-week high on the counter. Persistent systems. Sakshi, I think we need to mark this one as well. Another very well-known mid-cap IT company that has done phenomenally well in the market, and it's I think announced a stock split, of which a board meeting has been announced as far as the exchanges are concerned. Indian Oil Corporation, we seldom talk about this one. 144.55, up about 1/3%. Again, a fresh 52-week high. Let's look at volume buzzers apart from the usual names that we take. Again, a fresh record high on what is called PCBL now, Phillips Carbon Black, 310, 11% higher. Very, very strong volume breakout. 3.71 crore shares have been traded, and this is a 7x from 5-day average. On the short side, unfortunately, L&T Mindtree has disappointed investors. 11% lower, 5,600. Remember, this is an F&O stock, as also a Nifty play. Again, 6 times the volume. So this one is a little bothersome. We have earnings coming in from Mastech. Again, mild disappointment, 1% lower, 2,900, and very strong volumes, 6,90,000. Tata Communications, we just discussed. This sharp surge, Sakshi, is all the more relevant to discuss because at 1782, post earnings, 5% higher. I think this is the circuit, and 4x volumes have come in which numbers were, not, sort of out of the ordinary. So therefore, this is important to look at from the point of view of tomorrow. What else is clicking? Seat Limited, tire maker, 3.6% higher, 25.11, and 3x volumes today compared with the 5-day average, which is 4,27,000. Sakshi, what else are you seeing?
Shell, Aarti Industries is the one stock that I had mentioned in the morning. That's also up by 5.5% in trade. I'm also looking at facts that you constantly look at. That's one stock that is moving higher in trade. We're also looking at these home finance companies like Home First Finance, Equitas Small Finance. I had mentioned them in the morning also, Aptus Home Finance as well. A lot of these finance majors are actually moving up in trade, these smaller ones especially. Avinash, would you really look at all of these housing finance names and tell us in case there is anything that interests you, whether it's Home First Finance or Aptus Value or CanFin Homes at this point in time?
I think out of the names, I think Canfin Homes looks to be pretty interesting, because it's got a decent, kind of a, loan book, has got a very strong kind of rates, and is a subsidiary of Canara Bank, and and largely present in the southern market, where I think the record of disbursals and recoveries is pretty solid. PNB Housing also could be considered, I think, largely undervalued, but I think, and with a parent like PNB. So I think PNB Housing, at these levels also could offer a decent risk reward. I think all the remaining companies, we believe that some, news flow has already happened, and maybe the near-term trigger is lacking. But PNB Housing typically could be a good, interesting bet, considering that it still trades at attractive valuations. And Canfin Homes, I think there were some reports earlier that this business could be sold off by Canara Bank to some strategic investor. There's a lot of value in this business, and I think a very well managed company. So I think here also one investor could take a call for a medium to long term kind of time.
Okay, just 4 minutes to go for the markets to shut shop. The markets on the Nifty have actually recovered from the lowest point of the day. We are down in double digits, about 93 points or lower in trade, 21,478. So it's not looking that bad on the second day in a row after the carnage that we saw yesterday on the Nifty. And a lot of sectors have actually pulled up. Apart from PSU banks, there's realty, oil and gas, healthcare, autos. They're all doing, they're above the flat line for sure. Is the PSU banks that are up by 1%, and a lot of stocks that are showing buzzing action as well. Avinash, before we let you go, on Reliance Industries, tomorrow the earnings, what do you really expect on this one? It's again hovering near record levels. It's at 27.37 today, 0.5% higher in trade. What would you advise investors?
So I think Reliance definitely looks interesting. I think both from the telecom and the retail business. I believe the geo financial numbers have not been that encouraging, little disappointing numbers. But I think the markets would like to get to know what's the outlook for the retail and the telecom business. I think some indication of the retail business unlocking could be a near-term trigger. But I think in terms of numbers, I don't think you're going to see a major kind of fireworks on the numbers. Reliance always surprises the markets, but I think a 10-11% growth in the profit and obviously some good commentary on the telecom and the retail business would, I think, give a little bit of jerk and a little bit of positivity for the stock. But otherwise, I think clearly this is a longer term kind of stock. In the very near term, I don't expect a significant re-rating in the short term.
Okay. So that's Reliance Industries for you and a view
Okay,
coming
Sakshi,
in right
let's
ahead.
just wrap up the front line.
Yes, Chair.
Let's just wrap up the frontline market, Sakshi. HDFC Bank 3% lower, 1489, again closing near the day's low at just close to 12,000 crores worth of transactions have happened, compared with 13,313 crores yesterday. Remember, about 8,600 crores was earmarked as delivery yesterday on HDFC Bank, which is a substantially higher number. And again, the delivery statistics for today will also be watched. Market buzz is that a lot of long-only funds on HDFC Bank have sort of pressed sales. The second most active traded counter on the National Stock Exchange is IRFC, 145.90, 2% lower, 3,900 crores worth of transactions. Surprise, surprise, Oracle Finance is the third most active counter on the National Stock Exchange. Stunning show, fabulous numbers, 27% higher, 6,479 for you, and 3,263 crores worth of transactions happening. You have the usual suspects, ICICI Bank. RVNL is also the fourth at the slot 242. I'm not going to mark these railway stocks, they are way overstretched, but I'm just pulling out the numbers for you. BHEL, substantial, 1,400 crores worth of transactions, 2.7% higher, 212.90. What else? Axis Bank in the green, decent volumes. You have PCBL, which we've discussed. Cochin Shipyard, 2% higher, 867. Close to 950 crores worth of transactions happening. And Sakshi, in the dying moments of trade, BEL record high 189.50, Aurobindo Pharma moving higher, and Poonawalla FinCorp moving higher. So no worries as far as the granularity of the market is concerned on the long side. Sakshi.
Absolutely, Shell. And a large part of the recovery in the last moments has also happened in the broader markets. The mid-cap 100 index is now closed in the green for all the investors. This was down by 2.5% at one point of the day. What a smart recovery. This one, 47,168 on the Nifty Midcap 100 index, and a slew of stocks that are buzzing in trade here. Gujarat Fluorochemicals, Oil India, Petronet, BHEL, Poonawalla, HDFC Asset Management, Indus Towers, Paytm, Lupin, Z Entertainment, Adani Power. All of these counters have actually seen a pull up from the lowest levels of the day, and you've actually seen the broader markets take higher. Seems at least positive indications coming in that the downtick perhaps may not last for fair too long, and the bulls may be back in action much faster than we have anticipated. Let's keep our fingers crossed for tomorrow then. 92 points down, 21,479 on the Nifty right now. The Nifty Bank down by 0.6%, again a recovery from the lowest point of the day at 47,755. You have Sun Pharma, Tech Mahindra, Cipla, Tata Motors, M&M, and Apollo Hospitals as the top 5 movers on the Nifty pack as well. And of course, the stock of the day is Oracle Financial Services Software, 27% higher, a remarkable move after earnings as well. With that, we wrap up this special edition for you. After a volatile trading session, we've managed to see some recovery come to place, and we'll continue to tell you what is important for you to make as far as strategies are concerned in terms of markets. We will see you tomorrow morning for the opening sessions of Market Today. Many thanks for tuning in.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
In today's rapidly evolving business environment, when risk is omnipresent, managing risks is no longer just about ticking a few boxes. Businesses need to maintain a panoramic view of risks to stay ahead of the curve. Join us to explore how organizations can rethink risk to unlock new possibilities and become fit for future. At PwC presents De-Risking the Future in collaboration with Business Today.
Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I am Siddharth Zarabi, and with me is